You're listening to the Bulldog Insider podcast, brought to you by Essentia Health.
It only takes one step, twist, or crunch to know something doesn't feel right. Essentia Health's orthopedic and sports medicine team gets you back to doing what you love with commitment, resilience, intention. We're here to keep you moving forward. Visit essentiahealth.org to learn more about orthopedics and sports medicine, like nowhere else.
Hello and welcome to the Duluth News Tribune's Bulldog Insider podcast. I'm your host, Matt Wellens, the Bulldogs hockey beat reporter at the News Tribune.
And I'm Zach Schneider, the television voice of UMD Hockey on My 9 Sports.
Joining this week is a star freshman for UMD's women's hockey team and a rising star in Canada's national team ranks. Welcome to the podcast, Caitlin Kraemer. Hi, Caitlin.
Hi.
Quick bio on Caitlin. You grew up in Waterloo, Ontario, which is around 70 miles west of Toronto. Is that about right?
Yep.
Or I think Google told me like 112 kilometers or something like that. Some math genius or whatever can correct me if I converted that horribly wrong. You're the all-time leading scorer for Canada's under-18 national team. 37 goals and 53 points in 32 games. It's decent. It's pretty good. I'd say you're the most hyped freshman coming into UMD since Ev Gascon. She was pretty hyped as well coming in here. But former Bulldogs coach Laura Bellamy called you a generational talent. That's the words she used to me this summer. And she's a pretty smart person. She graduated from Duluth Denfeld High School. What's the start of your college career been like? Because there are a lot of people that were excited about you, not just coming to UMD, but coming to the NCAA.
It's been really fun. It's just been fun to be like a rookie again. The last 4 years I was with the same program, so I was a senior player for 3 years there, so it was kind of good to kind of be at the bottom again and kind of have to work my way up and really earn my spot and respect. And it's just been great to be in a new environment where everyone's like-minded. And we're all set on one goal, which is obviously to win the national championship. So it's just been fun to kind of be in this new experience with such a great group around me.
I think that's a mindset I haven't heard before. Someone saying they like being a rookie, like being most people are like, they worry about being a rookie, that freshman is something new. What is it you enjoy about being a rookie instead of a veteran?
I think just having to kind of step up and kind of look at the people around you. Like you have Clara Van Wieren, Hannah Baskin, Nina Jo Smith, and you just you see how they hold themselves and you want to be like them too. So just kind of pushing yourself every day, like focusing on the details they use and just trying to better your game just by watching them.
What have the last 2 or 3 years of your life been like? You accelerated so quickly through the Canadian program and then set these records that Matt was talking about. Now you're in college, and I think it's become commonplace over the last maybe 5 to 10 years. We tell people on social media, don't read the comments, right? Like, don't go read about yourself. Don't Google yourself. Don't search your name on Twitter. But for you, I feel like there's been so much positive press about your career and your arrival in Duluth into the NCAA. So do you go read about that? Do you go enjoy it as a 16, 17-year-old, or do you try to stay as far away from all that as possible?
I would say I definitely stay away from it as much as I can. I know, especially after last U18 World Championships when we failed to check in the semis, and there was kind of my first experience of having those negative comments. I know Kroll called me and was just and she checked up on me and was making sure I wasn't kind of looking at the media. So I feel like there's a kind of good balance. But I would say definitely for me, what works for me is just kind of staying off of it and kind of looking at coaches and teammates for good feedback.
Is that part of being a rookie again, too? I mean, you get here, and I feel like there are a lot of expectations about the player that you could be for UMD and beyond even. But is that part of being just a rookie again, too, that maybe you have some of these other players that are older and have been around UMD to lead the way, and you don't have to maybe shoulder the weight of all the expectations that come with your talent?
Yeah, like I would say definitely like just pressure is a privilege. I like to look at it as like everyone is like a big puzzle. Like everyone has their own piece that they bring. Like not one person's gonna win a national championship. Like I like to like kind of think of it like just like kind of finishing. Like you see what Clara, Nina, and Hannah have built here, and you kind of just want to help them finish it.
Why did you choose UMD? What was it that stood out about this program back in the fall of 2022 when you made your commitment?
Just the environment. Every girl's like-minded, and they're all just like great people too. Like I know at a lot of like high winning like teams in the WCHA conference, they not necessarily have the best kind of team culture, and there's a lot of not good competition. I would say here it's good competition. Like we go really, really hard at each other at practice, but then we have that aspect of learning from each other and also respecting each other. Like, yeah, we go hard at practice, but then we're best friends off the ice. And I think that's what really stood out to me, and just the coaches. Like, you don't get better than Laura Schuler. And so I just know like I'm going to get the most out of development here.
What's been your relationship with Coach Schuler, and how far has that gone back over the years?
Yeah, I think another thing about Duluth is that they do such a great job of checking in on their players. They are so like in tune with how important mental health is in the game, and athletes, and how that plays an aspect in the game. So that was another aspect, just like how often they checked in, kind of, and how they cared about your opinion too. Like you weren't just a player to them, you're also a person. And I think just Schuler, like I just love going in her office and talking about hockey, but then I know I can also go talk with her about life and just like what else I'm going through. Like I know me and Coach Liv, we have this thing where cooking, because I'm not the best cook. So every week I talk about something I'm going to cook this week. Last week was French onion soup with Clara, and it went pretty good. So we're able to have that kind of outside hockey conversations too.
So that's French onion soup sounds challenging to me. I can cook. I'm okay, but French onion soup sounds maybe that's ambitious right there.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to cut that much onions ever again.
You're not going to cut that much onions ever again. The Bulldogs went through a transition at head coach this offseason. There was over a month there where we didn't really know who was going to replace Maura Kroll. We had a good idea. I think we were all thinking it was going to be Coach Schuler, but I'm wondering, what was that like for you as a recruit? You're going into your first year of college, and Maura Kroll leaves for Dartmouth. What was that like for you as a recruit? I'm always curious about that.
Well, I was definitely disappointed. Like I was really looking forward to getting coached by Kroll, but I was also like Schuler was my main recruiter. Like I had the most conversations with her, and I was also pretty confident that she was going to get the head coaching spot. So it wasn't like that difficult. Like I knew I still want to spend 4 years at Duluth and wanted to go here no matter what. But yeah, obviously just disappointing. But when you have such a deep coaching staff, it wasn't too concerning.
Did you know Coach Schuler prior to like being recruited by UMD? Because she has a long history going back with Hockey Canada. Had you had a chance to work with her prior to
No.
UMD? Okay.
No, but another thing why I chose Duluth is it's a funny story. When Shu coached the Olympic squad back then, I watched that and I said, I want to get coached by her. And then it ended up happening. And I didn't connect the dots that it was Schuler until I was getting recruited and be like, that's the coach that I saw on TV. So it was a cool connection, yeah.
What was it that stood, like, why was it her?
I don't really know.
I think
it's just like, that was like the first really Olympics I watched. So I was just like, oh, like I want to play at Team Canada. I want to get coached by her. Yeah. So it was like kind of a full circle moment.
You and I talked about this topic a couple weeks ago, and I asked about the same thing. Like, why'd you still end up in Duluth with all the changes that happened to the program? And one thing you said stuck out to me, which was, I just wanted to be a Bulldog. It wasn't about Maura Kroll. It wasn't about the people necessarily in their positions. It was about the program as a whole. What is being a Bulldog? I mean, you've now gotten a chance to live it for a little bit, but before you set foot on campus, really, and we're a freshman here, what did the aura of the Bulldog hockey program mean to you to keep you interested, even though with the coaching change? I
think just the way the players compete. Every single player has the standard to compete at everything they do. And it's just, personally, I love battling. I love having that compete and kind of just going at each other until you can't know anymore. And I think that's like Bulldog mentality of just like nonstop work. And I think like Crow, like that's like kind of like how she's helped build like that mindset into these players. And I think the players, they live it now. And I just wanted to be a part of that.
Did any other teams reach out to you or your family, like trying to recruit you away when Maura Kroll left? Because everywhere else in college sports, when you see these coaching transitions, players get poached. It's just like the nature of the NCAA now. Did anyone try and reach out and try and snipe you away?
No, but even if they tried, they wouldn't have found success. So, yeah.
How much were the current players? That was one thing I heard in that whole transition was it seemed like a lot of the captains and the leaders that they had stepped up and taken a big role in reaching out to recruits and everyone else to keep everyone together. Like were current players reaching out and keeping you up to date during that whole process?
Yeah, like I think when we had the Zoom call with Crow when she let the news go, we had like a team meeting 30 minutes later of kind of just checking in, making sure everybody's on the same page, like just kind of keeping everyone together, like letting everyone know like what we're going to do and how we're going to stay on the same page. And I think that just goes to show like how like experienced and how just good people and like they know what everyone's thinking. So they're able to deal with it.
You have 3 goals and assists through your first 8 games at UMD. The team travels to Minnesota State Mankato this weekend. What's been the toughest part of making this jump to college so far, and what have you found maybe has been easy, comes naturally to you?
I would say the hardest part is probably the amount of systems. Like I haven't really played on a team with like harsh systems. So I think that's probably been the biggest adjustment of just having to like just learn a whole new system. But I would say the easiest part has probably just been like able to have fun while playing hockey. Like I know like it could be stressful, like kind of jumping up a level. But I think that just goes to show like how just great teammates I have around me to help with that.
How would you compare? You've played 2 of the top teams in the country now in Ohio State and Wisconsin. You're about to play another in Minnesota coming up here in November. But how would you compare playing against those teams in the WCHA now in college to maybe the competition that you faced at the U18 level? Because you were, I mean, as dominant a player at that level as we've seen, and at least in a generation. Is there a jump to just the top to bottom talent that you see now in the WCHA?
I would definitely say so. Like, I think you saw it in the Wisconsin game. Like, you make a mistake, you're going to get scored on. So I think it's just, like, I feel like in the U18 game, like, you could make a mistake and then you could recover. Where here, I feel like there's less of that kind of leeway. I think if, like, you have to be pretty prepared to, like, know what you're going to do in certain situations and kind of just not make as many mistakes. And, yeah.
One thing Matt and I noticed when you were playing against St. Thomas at AMSA, which was the first chance that we had to see you, and by the end of that series, every time you touched the puck, it felt like there were 2 or 3 Tommies that were dedicated to defending you. Even on the power play, it felt like 2 of the 4 defenders on the ice were assigned to Caitlin Kraemer. Is that something you've experienced before, or is that new? Did you recognize that the same way we did from watching up top, that everybody's paying attention? Like, it feels like you came into college, and sometimes players, I feel like, get half a season, maybe even a full season. They're like a secret, right? And then they have a coming up. I don't think you were a secret when you got to Duluth. Everybody knows, where number 11 is on the ice.
I didn't notice it too much in St. Thomas. But definitely, like, when I played in Waterloo, like, there would be a lot of shouting from coaches and even parents. But, yeah, I think you got to focus on your own game and what your team needs you to do. And luckily, like, my teammates are always going to have my back. And, like, I know my team. Like, they're so skilled players that I know they can do it. Like, they don't really need me. Like, they can just... I would be lucky to draw all those players out because I know they're going to do what they do.
You had 3 players on you at one play, literally 3 players. I brought up to Zach at intermission, like, did you see St. Thomas? Just like 3 players descended up on you. You said people shouting things, parents shouting things from the stands when you were in Waterloo. What's the craziest thing you heard? A little tougher at AmSoil here because there's just so many people. Though we can name at least one dad that Zach and I I don't know if you've been able to hear it on TV. Terry Hughes, shout out to Terry Hughes. You could hear Terry, Gabby Hughes' dad, from anywhere and everywhere at Amsoil Arena. But back at Waterloo, what's the craziest thing you heard from the stands?
It's not really nice things. It's more just like,
oh.
Yeah. So I don't know. Like a lot of people thought I was a bit too dangerous, like kind of like I was gonna hurt someone. So that wasn't too nice. But luckily here, like you're playing against like such strong players that they don't really like fall down. So.
Too dangerous. You were considered. You are a I noticed that about you right away. You're a physical player. You're not afraid to go through those three people when they get on you, and you're able to hold on to the puck still. But in Waterloo, did that physical style not always rub some parents the right way? I
don't think so, and it's fair. Like you gotta kind of know what the refs are gonna call, and you have to know who you're playing against. So that's also on me. But yeah. Not they just want their kid to be safe, so makes sense. Yeah.
They don't call much in the WCHA. You'll be just fine playing physical in this league. All right, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we'll have more with Caitlin. You're listening to the Bulldog Insider podcast, brought to you by Essentia Health.
Hi, I'm Maria Lockwood, a reporter with the Superior Telegram. Explore Superior and Douglas County history with me on Archive Dive, a monthly podcast available at superiortelegram.com or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Welcome back to the Bulldog Insider podcast, brought to you by Essentia Health Orthopedics and Sports Medicine. They're proud to be the team physicians for the UMD Bulldogs and provide sports medicine care to more than 25,000 student athletes in the community to ensure they can compete at the highest level while protecting their long-term health and athletic futures. Thanks to Essentia Health for their support of the Bulldog Insider podcast. Welcome back to the Bulldog Insider podcast. I'm Matt Wellens, along with my co-host, Zach Schneider, and our guest, Caitlin Kraemer. Caitlin, tell us about Waterloo, Ontario, where you grew up. What's it like there, just growing up and playing hockey?
I would say I just like the area. It's very much like Duluth, just like how the people are. We don't necessarily have a huge lake right beside us, but kind of like the same like weather and everything. But hockey, like, I think it's a very like well developed like hockey town. It's very easy to get started there and kind of like find like kind of grow in the program. I was lucky enough to stay in the same program throughout my whole minor hockey career, which was really cool. Like not a lot of people can say that. It was fun just kind of staying with the same group almost every year. Yeah, I think it's just a great place to develop. There's lots of like, I had Laura McIntosh be like a main person who did my skill development, and she worked with when the PWHPA, like she was Team Sonic, I think, the head coach was there. So, and she was at Ohio Buckeye, so she had a lot of experience, and I was grateful that she was kind of in the area. But I would say it was just a great kind of hockey town. Yeah, I was lucky to grow up there.
A lot of kids have to, end up moving away to play, somewhere else, a higher level of hockey. How fortunate do you think you were that you got to, play hockey basically in your hometown your entire life?
Yeah, I think it was pretty lucky, and probably also lucky for my parents to avoid much driving, especially since I don't have my license still. But I think, yeah, just fortunate to kind of, and I think it was kind of easy, like, to kind of go up level because, like, coaches know you. They and you when you have respect along the program, they know that, like, you're not going to be kind of a bad egg. So I think just earning, like, respect there and kind of keeping it was a big part of, like, being able to go up in programs.
Are there others from Waterloo, either girls that were older than you, teammates that you've had that are in the NCAA or have played college hockey?
Yeah, my first 2 years with my junior team, I had Katina Ducio, who plays at SLU. She was a big leader, and I looked up to her a lot. And then last year, I was lucky enough to be teammates with Abby Stonehouse. We actually lived together. She billeted with me, which was a riot, but it was lots of fun. She plays at Penn State now. So yeah, like, it kind of comes and goes, but it's just kind of fun to, like, I know, like, my first years, it was really nice having Kat being someone to look up to.
At what age did you think that college hockey was kind of in your future? Was it the Olympics that you watched Laura coach with Hockey Canada? What kind of triggered this as the path that you wanted to take?
Well, I feel like when I was growing up, the pathway wasn't as, like, like kind of known as it is now, especially like with media. I feel like the pathway to kind of having like Team Canada is a little more known, and like kind of everyone's stories are getting out. But for me, I would say it was when I was in Pittsburgh for a showcase, and I was watching Wisconsin and Colgate playing like a mini tournament thing. And like that's kind of when I got introduced to college hockey. And yeah, I think it was just watching that game and kind of doing my research on the teams that kind of got me into it. So yeah, I think it's just I got exposed to it then. And yeah.
You also grew up playing soccer, right?
Yeah.
Your family is actually a big soccer family, right? Yeah. So you have two older sisters who play at Maine. How did you end up being the hockey player of the family? And your younger sister, is she also, did I read, she's also a soccer player?
Yeah.
Okay, how did you end up in hockey and your other three sisters are the soccer players, primarily soccer players?
Yeah, well, everyone kind of like, we all started playing hockey soccer, and then kind of our grade 9 year, we kind of picked which one we wanted to focus on. But hockey, like my dad was really into hockey. He was in the OHL for, I think, 4 years, and then played at the University of Waterloo. And so he was big into hockey, and I think it kind of stuck. I actually like hated hockey my first like years of skating, and then it wasn't until like the competition started coming that I was like, oh, I kind of want to do this and focus on this. But I think it's just we picked what we liked best. I think I like the hockey culture more, of kind of having close teammates and everything. So I think that's what got me into hockey, and then obviously my sisters have found their success in soccer, which is really exciting to see. But I think it's just who we are, and like we just picked what kind of went best with us. Your
sisters play soccer at Maine, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Did they try at all to recruit you to go play hockey at Maine?
Yeah, they kind of did. They talked with the hockey coach and stuff, and I know I wanted to be in the WCHA, so they didn't have much luck. So yeah.
And you said you want to play physical, so again, WCHA, perfect league to do it. Hockey East, ECAC, you might have parents yelling at you from the stands for being dangerous. I love that Caitlin Kraemer is considered dangerous in the junior ranks of Canada. What hockey? So you played your entire time in Waterloo. Did you ever play any boys hockey? Because that's something else we see some of the top players do. Like Ev obviously played a lot of boys hockey. I
tried. I think when I was in grade 6 and 7, but got cut.
You got cut.
Yeah. So didn't really. I tried, but obviously it worked out, and I'm really grateful that I've been able to stay in the women's game. I think that's like something that I really take pride in my story, because I think it shows how much the women's game has grown. But yeah. It was bittersweet, but it worked out. I
kind of want to meet that coach right now and be like, the coach who cut Caitlin Kraemer. Yeah. Like, I wonder if he's maybe having just a little second guesses or that. I mean, that's kind of something that's changed. Now, Ev's a goaltender. We saw it with Maddie Rooney. As goaltenders sometimes make that switch to the women's game. But what's it been like for you, kind of seeing this sport as a young player continue to grow and evolve to a point where you don't have to go play boys hockey to find better competition?
Well, I think it's just because like there's more resources. Like I think media is helping a lot with kind of helping young girls like get inspired and find like how to get started. But I think it was my year that's kind of like, obviously because my story, but we were able to just kind of stay in the women's game and still develop a lot and like just grow and continue to enjoy the game. So I think it's just, I think the resources that's opened up for women's hockey has really helped with that.
Maybe it won't happen in a bona fide fashion until after you return to Waterloo after this first season at UMD. But have you noticed that you're kind of the star around Waterloo now? Has that happened already, that younger players are already looking up to you as young as you are?
I've noticed it a couple times. And I think like as much as I don't really like to be in the spotlight, I know that it's important for the women's game. And if I need to be that person to inspire that little girl to pick up the skates and stick, then I'll be that person, because obviously you want to grow the game as much as you can.
I say maybe not till after this year, but the U18s probably did a lot of that too.
Yeah. I'd say, that after my first U18s, there was definitely a jump. So,
yeah. Who is the most famous person from Waterloo, Ontario?
Lauren Gable is from Waterloo. And I know there's a Vegas player. It's probably bad that I don't know his name, but I know there's a Vegas player. And then I'm not really into the media around Waterloo, so I'm not. I just know Lauren Gable's probably the biggest one I know in the hockey.
You're not the most famous person.
No.
From Waterloo yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
No.
You're getting there. Who are you living? So, first year as a college student. I always like to ask about that. What's that kind of aspect of all of this been like? Because it's not as much as we all love it for hockey to be your primary job in college. College life. What's that like for you? Who are you living with on campus? How's that been? I'm
living with the other 3 freshmen, so Reese, Zoe, and Camden. I'm roomies with Reese, so I have my fellow Canadian. And me and Reese, like, we have been on the national team with each other. We've been for Team Ontario, so we're really comfortable with each other, and we know how kind of each other live. I'd say they Camden and Zoe are a bit more of the neat and kind of put together people. Me and Reese, we fall out a bit with our neatness here and then, but we're working on it. But I would say it's been an adjustment, but I don't think it's been as big as adjustment as I thought. I'd say cooking is probably the biggest adjustment, but I think like the teachers and like our coaches are so great at like kind of keeping us accountable on our schoolwork, but also being there for support if we are struggling in something. So yeah, I think it's been an adjustment, but it's been a good adjustment.
We always like to ask this, who is the chef of the apartment? Who is your best cook?
We don't really like cook. I would say we kind of microwave. But I would
stop listening if you're the nutritionist for the hockey team right now.
Yeah. I would say probably Camden. Yeah. She's probably using the oven the most.
She's using the oven the most. Yeah. You said you knew Reese before coming here. You two played together on the national team. Did you ever? You had mentioned you went to that showcase in Pittsburgh. You didn't happen to go against Zoe Crocodile in there, did you?
I don't think so. But I played against Camden in another show. I think in like a Detroit showcase that I just put together like a week ago.
Oh, okay. You just figured it out. Like, you're at the same thing. What were your first? Obviously, you knew Reese already, but what were your first impression of your roommates? And this question is an ode to Ashton Bell and Anna Klein, who lived together, I believe, as freshmen. Anna Klein from the wealthy Minneapolis Twin Cities suburb of Edina, and Ashton Bell, the cowgirl from the plains of Manitoba, were matched together. It's interesting they had put 2 Canadians together after long ago someone must have thought it would be fun to just put Anna Klein and Ashton Bell together. But what were your first impressions of some of your roommates and freshmen?
I would say my first impressions were pretty like spot on, just like very put together people, organized, and honestly I love that because I can kind of just go with the flow, and I know they just deal with all the housing and all like the information we needed to put in, so I'm very lucky to have them as my roommates.
Is it fun to have the entire freshman class, like the 4 of you all together going through this together?
Oh yeah, I love it how like we kind of just have our own, like there's not like 8 of us, like we kind of can keep track of each other, and I think we've really bonded over the last couple months. And I feel like it was pretty quick. Like we were all kind of like, hey, we're all like on the same page pretty quickly.
And you hadn't spent much time away from home. Really, I mean, a couple weeks here and there with maybe some U18 stuff, but the majority of it has been at home with your folks, right?
Yeah, I would say the last few years was like not as much time home, but yeah, I would say I'm a homebody.
Okay, yeah. See, the women's team is so much. The men, like sometimes they've been away from home for like 3 years by the time they get to campus, and they're kind of used to it. But the women's team, I feel like you're all coming in, and this is a big change, lifestyle wise, class load wise, and then you throw in the Division I hockey. That's a pretty big workload as well. So I feel like the women's team always has a bigger jump into college life than the men's team sometimes.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
I threw out listener questions, as Zach likes to say, Matt getting lazy and asking people to do his job. Our good buddy Dan on Twitter came through. Has UMD lived up to your expectations so far?
I think it's like gone over my expectations, which has been really, really fun. I didn't know I was gonna like kind of feel like a part of the team as quickly, because it's like coming in like because it's a strong bonding team. But they were so great of just like, hey, like you're one of us now, like welcome, like let's get to work kind of thing. And I think like that was a great kind of like bonus.
Some quick hits here. Who's your favorite NHL team?
Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Okay, not the Toronto Maple Leafs, even though you grew up right there.
I think I like cheer for them in playoffs. Like I usually cheer for Canadian teams in playoffs.
Okay. I feel like you're saving yourself some heartache, not
Yeah.
cheering for like I cheer for the Leafs in the playoffs. Well, that doesn't last very long usually. Who's your favorite PWHL team?
Probably Montreal or Boston.
Montreal or Boston? Again, not going for the hometown
What's
team.
the connection with Boston here? You played that? Is that showcase? Did you go there a lot?
Well,
What's
no,
the
Pittsburgh,
connection?
she said.
Well, yeah. So
You're
the
mixing up
Northeast. Sorry,
Yeah.
the Northeast.
Courtney Kessel was my U18 coach my first year, and I loved her. And I think it was just really cool to her to take on like her first head coaching job. I think like outside of Canada, like was PW Boston. And I think that's just so cool. And obviously they had a lot of success getting to the finals. But unfortunately, they didn't get the final push, but it was really fun to watch.
Thumbs up or thumbs down to the PWHL team names? I like Montreal.
I'm half and half. Like
half and half.
Yeah, I think Ottawa's needs some work, but
the Ottawa.
I like
Charge.
the name. I like
Charge.
the name, but
The logo.
I think the logo has to grow on me a bit more.
Yeah, the logo reminds me of the Cleveland Cavaliers. I don't get Toronto's nickname.
I noticed
the
it when we're playing
Scepters.
St. Thomas. It's literally the St. Thomas logo.
Now that you mention it, it is.
Yeah.
I'm never going to be able to unsee that.
So
now.
I noticed that while
St.
playing them.
Thomas's
and I was
logo
like,
on the shoulder there. Yeah. Who's your favorite soccer team?
Maine.
Maine.
Maine's women's soccer team.
Maine going
Yeah.
with the family team name there. Okay. Did any school offer you to play two sports in college? Because from what I've heard, you were a pretty good soccer player growing up.
I quit soccer in my grade 9 years, so like, I wasn't really like into it. But
Okay.
like I don't think I would have been a top recruit.
You don't think you would have been a top
No.
recruit to go to? Marie Poulin's name often gets brought up with you because you broke her goal scoring record with the U18 team. What player do you kind of see yourself modeling your game after?
I don't know, like I know who like really like I like to watch and kind of see what they do. I like seeing Brianne Jenner, Laura Stacy, obviously Poulin, because who doesn't want to play like Poulin? But I'd say those are probably my top three.
More nerve-wracking, a penalty shot in soccer or a penalty shot in hockey?
Probably hockey.
Hockey, okay. That's all we got.
Yeah.
Caitlin, thank you so much for joining us here on the podcast. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
That's all the time we have on the Bulldog Insider podcast this week. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Like us, subscribe, and rate us. For more Bulldogs hockey coverage, visit DuluthNewsTribune.com/Bulldog Insider. Subscribe to gain access to all of our coverage all season long. Zach, what does the My9 TV schedule look like coming up here? No women's hockey at Mankato, huh? You're not making the trip to Mankato?
I was racking my brain. I'm glad you said that because I'm like, I think the women are going to Mankato this weekend. I'm not going with them. They're not going to be on TV. They're going to be on Big Ten Plus with the away series, and the men are off. So it's an off weekend for me, and I'm glad you reminded me where the women play. So next time I see them, they'll be playing Minnesota.
Okay. Glad I kept you from showing up at Amsoil this weekend, wondering if you were calling a game. Thanks to our sponsor, Essentia Health, for their support of the Bulldog Insider podcast, and thanks to all of you for listening. We'll catch you next week.